We're going to disrupt and allow me to disrupt you. But I'm going to be very flexible with you so that we do 3 rounds of questions. The first round of question is basically just your personal reflection for what has happened from the morning up to right now. The second round of questions, from where you're sitting with your current organization right now, what do you feel you can contribute to what is happening, especially in the ecosystem? And the third one, we always talk about future in this panel. Where do you see yourself within your current organization? Where do you see the future of Tanzania? And how can we all take part to shape it? So I know you had your questions already, but if I go through your question, you'll leave here at 2. So, and we are trying to bootstrap so that you can still live within the same time. So the first one is simply, just general reflection. You've heard the story, the past 10 years, what has happened, and what does this mean to you? The second one, within your current organization and what you do, how could you effectively contribute and be part of this? And where do you see Tanzania in the next 10 years, and what role your organization or your partnership can play? Is that okay? Are you allowing me to go with those questions? Okay, trying to be a bit diplomatic here. So, as usual, now we have 3 ladies, so we're gonna go Zhanet first. So I'll start with Mark. Just your reflection from the conversation that has been happening.
Thank you, Jumanne, and good afternoon, everybody. I think this theme of this panel on a decade of disruption really resonates deeply with UNFPA's mandate. For UNFPA, disruption's not about just technology. It's about using ideas to dismantle inequalities, to ensure that every woman, every young person can exercise their rights, their choices, has access to health, access for opportunities to grow. I think we have Mheshimiwa Minister with us today. I think this is a crucial time and topic because as the country is launching and rolling out Vision 2050, DERA 2050, this places young people at the heart of the development agenda. And young people are the innovators of this country. As a UN system, and we're well represented with you in this journey, we stand to support this vision and really how innovation can be the bridge between the realities and tomorrow's possibilities. For UNFPA, as an international organization, we employ innovation from a global to a regional to a country level. And to simply put it, it's based on one simple but powerful principle. And that's that innovation must be by, for, and with women and young people. And we're not just building solutions for them. The goal is to empower them as creators of these solutions. So to make this a reality, we have various architecture in place, various strategic investment facilities which provide seed funding, incubation hubs, and looking at ourselves as a UN agency of how we can be more agile with our own processes to be more friendly and accessible for young entrepreneurs and startups as well. The journey in Tanzania has been, I would say, one that demonstrates the power of partnerships. The AMUA Innovation Accelerator, which has been spoken about, was there from the beginning. We're now almost a decade. And it's proving that with the right mentorship and resources, young people can lead that change. It's supported more than 16 youth-led startups, and it's reached more than 1 million young people. There's many I could talk about, but I would highlight 2, because they're also with us in the exhibition and the marketplace to encourage you to visit them. One is Thai Studio, a social enterprise that uses storytelling and technology to raise awareness and drive social change, and has a remarkable ability to connect with young audiences on sensitive topics like sexual and reproductive health and rights. And as you cited, they've started with a team of 2 in 2017 and have now 35 staff. The second I would mention is Afia Intelligence, which is harnessing data to strengthen health systems and enable more informed decision-making, being adopted by the Ministry of Health. And this is an institution that's now attracting further funding and resources, as Jumanne highlighted. I think there's many success stories, but the proof is that we have a working model. And it's demonstrated that when innovations are co-created by the users themselves, adolescents, mothers, healthcare providers, they're much more likely to be adopted and to be sustainable. So I think, Jumanne, take your question to move us ahead. If I'm looking forward at the next frontier, at the next decade, I think it's good to celebrate the achievements, but it's also honest to face the challenges and put those on the table. And there's three that I see. The first is really this fragmentation to get from pilots to policy. I like to call it pilot purgatory. There's too many successful pilots that never get beyond the small-scale trial. There's no clear path to that national policy integration. The second is really a funding gap. There's funding that gets committed for those early stage ideas, but there's often a significant lack of capital to help that social enterprise grow to scale. And I would point out to say this is especially true for women-led ventures, and therefore the need to put a particular deliberate focus and investment on women-led investors. And the last I would say is really the importance of reaching that last mile with the digital inclusion. We can't achieve a digital economy if a significant portion of the population still lacks connectivity and access to devices. So it's a call to continue to invest in these innovations and technologies, AI, robotics, including drones, blockchain technologies, different initiatives and pilot or projects that can help inspire that. In Tanzania, the UN system, UNFPA, has been doing our part, but we need to broaden this partnership. And we look to, hopefully through forums like this, to improve particularly the relationship with the private sector to support this co-creation. Digital skill building for young people, particularly young adolescent girls, that can help build the human capital that Tanzania requires for that Vision 2050. I'll stop there, and if you give me a chance at the end, a few key messages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mark disrupted all. He went through the whole question. But anyway.
Okay, yeah. Well, I might keep myself a little bit shorter.
Be very flexible, whatever approach you want to take.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you. Well, perhaps the approach is, then I continue with the aspect that we have been immensely happy partners. I wouldn't always talk about development partners, to be frank. It's more partners, really, in supporting or doing more in the innovation sector. And with COSTECH, there is a great background of cooperation. And it was interesting, the panel that was just discussed, it was mentioned that already some things are taking place here, which we have also been strengthening in Finland, like innovation vouchers, we call them. That means that the city or the ministry are able to give small-scale kind of support for new innovators. And there was also the aspect reason that in adjunctions with universities, there can be innovation hubs to strengthen the opportunities to test the new ideas that the students have. So, and this is what we do in Finland as well. So we really are partners here. One other aspect that I would in this perhaps a particular phase like to raise is a third instrument, if you may call it, we use in our own country, which is called slush. And in the previous panel, I loved the idea which was raised that there would be big platforms where innovators and investors would meet, and they would be perhaps divided in different sectors. But what we do in Finland, it's not particular a sector, it's everybody's invited. And it started 2008, very small scale. And it was the students in the university who did it all voluntarily. They worked day and night, 24 hours, didn't get even paid, and they managed to gather a small community of innovators and investors. It was not very big in the beginning, but over the years it has grown, and I think the last time I saw some figures that there would have been about 6,000 innovators, 3,000 investors, and altogether 15,000. So it has risen to be one of the world's biggest events where innovators and investors meet each other. So I would very much like to encourage to build on the idea which was presented in the past panel, to just create this platform, because the key is really to get the private sector interested. We can, like as a government, or you can as a government, you can give this kind of catalyzing money, but then the others need to come in. So that just a couple of words. But then otherwise, more generally, I mean, coming from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and liking to look at things globally as well, when I saw the word disruption within this event, I started to think about order and disorder. And this is, and this is something we discuss a lot, I mean, in my country as well, that we are seeing a change, a global change. We feel it country-wise, but also globally, that we have an order which is now evolving into a disorder, meaning that there are several global players, then there are middle countries rising, and then there is the aspect of technology becoming so immensely important, which means power. And that brings us to the whole discussion of artificial intelligence and the need to be able to use it in a way that it is trusted, the aspect of cybersecurity, the aspect of connectivity that is trusted, that you really know that when you use the technology, you have the system that you can trust is not disrupted, and you can also kind of be sure that it's not poisoned with disinformation. But I stop now here because I realize I'm getting out of the path now.
Actually, it's very interesting. So I will comment on two things. I think I've been traveling to Finland more times than the times I've went to Mwanza, which is our native town. So I've been going to Finland more than 12 times. So the first time I went there was through the support of COSTECH. And we went there to an exchange program. I think it was an academic exchange program. And so I want to tell you the secret that you didn't know about. So we met with a team at Aalto University, this bunch of crazy young guys at Startup Sauna who are running Slash. And we made a promise to them. We're going to replicate Slash in Tanzania. And that's how Sahara Spark started. So we know so much about Slash. And what we liked about Slash, it's an open platform. Everyone is invited to participate. And as big as it was, by the way, Honorable Ambassador, she's being humble. It's actually the biggest tech event in Europe. Over 1,000 of people attending. What we realized that was fascinating, it was organized by university students. So the biggest tech event in the world is organized by second year and third year students. So when we came back here, the idea was, if they can do it, why can't we? So we mobilized, we started to organize this event. I think that's the first important point I wanted to say. The second one is on disruption, which is very fun. So I was working with the office of one of our former presidents. He was looking to establish a fund to support young people, a seed fund. And so every time we're struggling to design the fund because of value added tax and also something called a capital gain tax. And then I told the former president, the same way I just told you guys, I think we need to disrupt how the government works. And then he took off his glasses like, you need to do what? So disruption can be a very scary word to decision makers, especially when it's coming from young people. But the point I'm trying to make here is, especially with the amount of actual disruption that is happening with these emerging technologies, AI and others, and I'm very happy you talked about ethics in AI because it's something that we need to talk about. There's issues, there's a concept now they call the gym code. Those who are actually writing models that are pushing AI, they're shaping the narrative of the world and they're creating the world as a flat surface. Like we all have to behave, they want us to behave. So these are some of the discussions that are critical for the future of Africa. So again, I'm very excited. I just wanted to share that piece of story of how we connect with Slash as a platform. And I've been attending Slash several times, by the way. So I'm very excited with the knowledge we gain and the experience we gain. So now I'll move to Cullen. UN Women said, we want to be very practical as sponsors to your event. If you can guarantee us 1,000 women to register to the event, we will sponsor you. We say registration or attendance. Let's be clear. They say registration. So we ended up having almost 400 women attending. And then is where one of our partner, Vanessa Kisowile, started to engage with my good sister Mara on an idea called She Found, a platform to support women entrepreneurs and founders, because there were very few women in the startup ecosystem in Tanzania and Africa at large. I think Mara will speak about it deeply. So the key issue is, from where we are standing, the discussion that are there from a perspective of UN Women, what's your reflection in these past 10 years, and where do you see us going?
Thank you very much, and thank you for starting there, because as I sit here and I look at the room, my first look is about representation, because for UN Women and even for our colleagues in the UN system, is that representation is very important. We need to see women in rooms, we need to see women in spaces, we need to see women how they are reflected, because as you know, and this is a conversation that has been going on, we know there is what we call the gender digital divide, where there are not more women even in STEM classes. I know even in the case of Tanzania, there was a recent report of how many women are even in universities in science-based, the STEM-based curricula. So their representation for us is very important to just see, because representation also creates a sort of mentorship. When you see people who look like you, who have done this thing, you are more encouraged. And so for me, looking at this room, I'm encouraged. Looking outside, so young innovators who are outside there, who are young women. So that is very good. One of them told me they go to schools and they talk to those who are in school. So that for us is very important, because it creates motivation, mentorship for young women and girls who are rarely represented in these fields. So that was very good. In terms of reflection so far, what I've been seeing, I think one word that has stuck for me, that has come even with our previous panelists, is the issue of inclusion with people of disability, also of young women and girls is very important, and that is what we are keen on. And also inclusion in terms of geographical areas. Are we reaching those who are not necessarily in Dar es Salaam, those who are in areas that would potentially be left out? And so issues like internet access, if you're talking about innovation, it's not only about technology, but we know in this day and age, we need internet access if innovation is also to take place. So those are the things that, of course, we look at within UN Women. And so looking at some of the things that have been said so far, what has been said, I was saying it would be interesting to see young people on this stage rather than us, but I appreciated your story of the elders, because the elders are very important. I really liked that, to hear what the elders have done, because it is also in those spaces, sitting with government, the things that you've spoken about around policies, the startup acts that were very important to structure this, working in government. And this is where, together, UN Women, together with other partners, working in policy spaces, as Mark has mentioned, to move that conversation forward. We know government needs to be on board to take this forward. And so even in the case of women and girls, we are very happy to know that the government of Tanzania is making progress, even with Mama Samia looking at around promoting the campaign on AI and data and education, sponsoring campaigns and scholarships for young women and girls. We are happy that that is happening. When we are talking about what we call the Beijing Platform for Action, we are happy to know that Tanzania is committing itself specifically on the one on digital inclusion and closing the space, the digital gender divide for that. So this is progress that Tanzania is making, and we're happy to see that. In terms of capital and financing, I think that is also a key issue I know entrepreneurs talk about. We are happy to see specific financing that takes place through local banks. NMB, the biggest one was the Gender Bond Fund. And so, as Mark mentioned, issues around financing. So I think that is it for, but this is to say congratulations to you and the team, and to see what is happening here, and to expect to see more young women innovators in the room. Oh, I forgot to, one last thing. I laughed because when you mentioned your wife, and congratulations to her for holding fort. The one thing I must say, which is very important, because if she was not holding fort, you would not perhaps be here. And so we must also recognize this for young women, and also tailor-make, look at what allows them to also participate. Because women sometimes don't have the luxury to delegate to somebody else. I don't know if there's somebody who, you say you are working until midnight. A lot of women would tell you they cannot come home at midnight. So we have to look at what counts, what works for women. We are not saying they have to come home at midnight, but we have to address the issues that are facing young women entrepreneurs and innovators. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Mara, your thoughts to further welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Jumanne, for having me in your country. It's the first time. To start with, we are building ecosystems. Ecosystems, no matter how brilliant we are, no matter how amazing the spaces we create, are anchored by financing. Every great idea needs to be pushed by funding. It needs to be scaled by funding. We can have friends, we can have family, we can have fools, but if none of them have money, we'll struggle to develop impact, and the kind of impact that you, Jumanne, has created here. So in some of my reflections, I'm looking to Zambia, because Tanzania, I've done a lot of research, but I think Zambia is closer to home. We have, in the last 10 years, grown as an ecosystem. We don't have enough hubs to support minds or disruptors like this. Zambia needs to grow more hubs. We need to establish more hubs. I always laugh when we say we're competing, because there's no competition in Zambia when it comes to hubs, right? You did a book on hub managers. We need more hub managers to develop the kind of disruption that would foster the future of Africa into greatness. The other reflection for me is partnerships between the government or the private sector and the public sector. We've established great partnerships, but I think also partnerships have to be fueled by good investment. So that's investment coming from private sector and also investment coming from public sector. Many a times in my country, I don't know about Tanzania, the government will call on us to give insights or to go into showcasing, and then also ask what we can do for government, and never what can we do together. So there has to be that level of alignment where it's a partnership, because partnership says, I'm bringing something, you're also bringing something. If you can't bring something mandatory, give me something that is an incentive that will encourage me. So that's a reflection for me where we need to enhance those relationships. But for me, the one that's closest to home is the youth, the young people of Africa. The population of Africa is mostly youth. Young people under the age of 25 are the ones that are now making decisions. Just looking at the number of people that stood up on the last question is exactly why the youth are not disrupting. They need financing. And the kind of financing that is patient, the kind of financing, Honorable, that comes from fools like yourself, fools that say we will put an agenda as a government to invest in critical mass, invest in young people over a period of time, and we'll have the Jumannes and the likes to anchor and handhold them until they succeed. Then we'll channel them to private sector investment. Those are some of the things that we need to put in place because they're deliberate in ensuring that there is a pipeline and a future for African young people. The last thing that I want to say on my reflection is, I don't know how much you know, but Zambia's cars are mostly picked up from Tanzania, right? So you have a lot of Zambians coming here. Zambian rice, I only eat Tanzanian rice. Zambian rice, most of our rice comes from Tanzania, right? Most of our cross-border women, if they're not going south to South Africa, they're coming east to Tanzania. So they're crossing, we spoke about women, critical mass, the gender divide. Women are working long hours to ensure that they can come and get their commodities, go to Lusaka and sell their hair, sell their fabric, sell their skincare products, and sell other products. We need to disrupt and ensure that our borders, yes, we have borders that are open now, but how can we digitize those connections? The Africa Continental Free Trade Area has to be actualized. It means we need to be able to do cross-border payments, we need to be able to do cross-border logistics and safe logistics, and we need to be able to build platforms that can connect people where Zambian women don't have to cross the border all the time to get their commodities. So in building the Africa we want, I think we need to look at the realities of where Africa is going and how do we enhance and improve livelihood, how do we improve convenience. If you put money on convenience, most people will pay for it, right? So do we develop for convenience or develop for people that only have money in their pockets? So part of the goal is also to ensure that government and private sector work together. A huge congratulations to Liberia. They've set up the first youth bank in Africa that was launched by the Africa Development Bank. That is something that the former president of the Africa Development Bank had been pushing for the last 10 years. Same message. Let's build youth banks. Let's build banks that have youth products, that are youth-centric. No commercial bank today has a product that is youth-focused or youth-centric. And that is the reality. So who is investing in the pipeline of developers and disruptors? It means that we're leaving youth to fend for themselves. Jumanne, if you are left to fend for yourself, if UNFPA didn't come to your aid, if the elders didn't come to your aid, you would not be standing on this stage today.
Definitely.
So thank you to the elders for believing in a young, disruptive guy like Jumanne, because you paved way for us. I've been friends with Jumanne for the last, 8 years now, from Youth Connect, and I've been learning so much from him. But your investment made it possible for me to learn from him and for me to interact and connect and partner with him. So we thank you, and to his wife, thank you for allowing us to share him with you, because I'm not married, but I rely on men like him to provide the support that my husband can't. So I'll call him in the middle of the night and say, Jumanne, what do you think? And he responds. That is the community that we want. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm conscious with time. I will give you, just to say, a summary on the next steps. So start with Mark again. What are your closing words?
Thanks, Jumanne. I think the last message is, as we look at the next decade, two messages. One, I think the next decade is about procurement, not just pilots. And we need to shift the focus from mere experimentation to deliberate, scaled up integration of proven solutions. And this means we must consume what we support. We need to walk the talk. The time for small funds is done. We need to buy the solutions, we need to adopt the solutions, we need to use the solutions. It's the only way that it's gonna grow. The second is innovation must be gender intentional and transformative. If we do not design deliberately and fund and measure solutions that close gaps around gender, around disparities, around people left behind, the efforts will only serve to reinforce those existing inequalities. Let me stop there.
Honorable Ambassador.
Yes, well, thank you. Just a couple of words about what we are doing now and the coming years, particularly here in Tanzania. So, as Finland, we're cooperating with the Fungua program with the UNDP, and there we have had a program catalyzing innovations, catalyzing financings for innovation. There was a corporate proposal, and we are going through the proposals, and there might be coming up new ones. So that is a direct way to give a seed money to innovations in order to, so to say, get more money on board from the private sector. And another aspect, in my previous intervention, I was talking very much about technology, I realized, but of course innovations, I mean, they cover huge, I mean, all sectors in fact. So what we are supporting here in Tanzania as Finland is innovations when it comes to the forestry sector, natural resources, which is also done through a training center we have in Mafinga, how to utilize that and new innovative thinking. I think there is plenty of potential. So we hope that these kind of small interventions would bring to the next steps. But yeah, that's perhaps all I think for the future. It's well, we share it all. We all need to innovate. We all have that kind of drive. We see the needs, and the health sector was specifically also mentioned there. There's definitely there in the education sector. There's so much potential when we use new ways, and also there, of course, technology. But yeah, thank you.
Cullen?
For me is one, we must continue to, of course, financing is very important, but we must continue to also have champions who are willing to not only invest their finances, but their networks and partnerships to see innovators succeed, just like the elders did for you, and especially for young women and girls. We must also continue to ensure that we apply a lens that does not continue to create the divide that is there, that one that is talking about inclusion. So ensuring that we don't continue talking about that the AI is biased, or we have interventions that are not looking at do not address the issues of young men and women. So we must continue to apply the lenses that are required to ensure everything that we're coming, the innovations that are being developed, the solutions that are that are being developed are also inclusive. Thank you.
Yes, Mara? Anything to close?
Yeah, the future for me has youth at the center of development, youth at the center of decision making, and youth at the center of driving a youth-led economy. So putting more power in your pockets, more pressure on ensuring that policies are inclusive, and more deliberate moves by the youth to innovate and to show up not just as participants, but as contributors and leaders in the rooms. And then on top of that, challenging our policymakers. We are setting up the bank. Liberia has already shown. We are looking to partner with different countries. We have already set up our model in Zambia called Buy Youth. So we are looking for partnerships, and it's a Pan-African product that should be anchored in country by our partners in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you. So can we give them another round of applause? Do we have the photographer for the final picture so that I release them? We can have a group picture and then we can move and allow you to go back to your seat.